Stacks.
All right, hello everyone. This is Josh, also known as Yashu. You're just tuning into another episode of TLOY Talks podcast. You can get this on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Buzzsprout, much more. You can check out the Patreon too. So, like, once you sign up for Patreon and join that link, you can join like any other tier like around it. Like, mainly everything has like exclusive content. Others have like different perks. So definitely tap in with that. And I'm just gonna get started right here. So basically, we have the man of the hour who's been well known for his own platform, A Day in LA, the Rap Report Card series. He's been making waves all over the United States of America and all over the world through his appearances on No Jumper, through other platforms as well to speak on it, with Figmunity, with I think Community as well too, and like a lot more stuff. So we have the legendary Dejon Paul like in the building. How are you doing today, man?
Top of the afternoon, man. Thank you. I appreciate the intro. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Like you've been like a legendary staple within like the LA scene, throughout like the past year or two and all that too, like from seeing you like in 2022 when you popped by the No Jumper to talk more about the report card, like got like a lot of people shaking like in the city and all that too. Like there was like a lot of like controversies too because like I think some people asked to not be in the rap report card before, but then made amends to you connected with them again, and then it
Yep.
led on to you getting like other opportunities like by working at No Jumper and just like even being in like different platforms too, to even having like different variations of the rep record card for like the Bay Area, Inland Empire, like Atlanta, Detroit,
Yep.
New York, much more. And it's amazing to see and all that. And I feel like it is like necessary within media. Like I feel like you are like that important source like in media in a way and all that. And I gotta give you like your flowers up for a bit too for from a person from Toronto, Ontario.
Thank you. It's greatly appreciated, bro. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Like, I definitely want to get like started right here too to get your story and to find people more about Dejan and everything else too. So, I want to be correct on this one. So, you grew up in Inglewood, correct?
Yes, born and raised in Inglewood, California, which is a part of or a city in Los Angeles.
All right. And growing up there and like even going to school there, what was like the environment like for you growing up at that time? Would you say like your childhood like in that area was a great experience, or would it be like very different like in a way?
I don't know about great experience. It just was what it was. I grew up with my father predominantly, and he kind of kept me sheltered from a lot what was going on outside. But it's only so much sheltering you can do because the walls are thin and there's windows, so I can see what's going on outside. I see the fights. I see, you feel me, all the street shit. I hear it. You feel me? I hear it going on, and neighbors in the apartment buildings and all of the the things that go on in the hood. You feel me? I'm seeing all of it, but he did his best to shelter me from it. He kept me in a lot of sports. So I was always at like Rogers Park and different parks in Inglewood, Darby, playing sports, football, baseball, a little bit of basketball. So that's what I can say about growing up. Like my father really did his best to shelter me from some of the rough sides of Inglewood
Yeah. I definitely
and the
understand.
streets. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand because like I know with the whole gang culture in LA and like even like wearing a hat sometimes too, like it has like a lot of like issues, like even like having like different shoelaces, sneakers, all that type of stuff too. It could be like a problem. So sometimes like clothing might be an issue sometimes. So and like just even like with the whole like understanding of gang culture, like it might be something that you'd have to trickle off to like on your own or sometimes with family like in a way. So I definitely see that.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a thing I've seen in LA. A lot of people have commercialized that, made TikToks out of it, and viral YouTubes and stuff like that. But the premise of it is real. You do have to watch what you say, what you wear, excuse me, what you say, how you move. Get to from point A to point B safely. Those type of things happen, but it's normal life to me. It's not like a big deal because that's just what she was raised in. I will say early on in my life, I was going to private schools in Inglewood, so it's not like you got to even choose to wear certain colors and things like that. It wasn't until I got to high school, Inglewood High School, that you get the whole watch what hat you wearing, colors, all of that made sense. But before that, I was in private school. We wore dress shirts, ties, dress pants, dress shoes, those type of things. So,
Okay. That's that's actually pretty interesting in the sense too. I didn't even realize that, but it's good to know. And I know that you said that you were like playing like sports as a kid too, but aside from
Mm.
that, what were you like from like the start of like childhood until you turned like 18 and everything else?
Um, I was just always different. I was always very, very smart, very intelligent, very well spoken. Always the teacher's favorite. Always like just getting A's on tests and like I'm the kid who would like student that would raise their hand and answer the questions first, and like a kind of like a know-it-all in hindsight, but it was just me being excited to learn. I was really into education. I loved school. I didn't like the bullying part of it and all that stuff, but like academics, I love that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what really what. But I love music and I love hip hop too. So after school, I was all about watching Rap City, watching 106 in the Park, looking at anything I can get my hands on hip hop wise, any type of magazine, any type of publication, going on hip hop blog websites like allhiphop.com. At a very young age, like I was a hip hop nerd. I was a nerd. I was a rap nerd too. So that's what I was about.
No, that's facts, man. And who introduced you to like music, like specifically like hip hop and like LA rap at first too? Was it something that you were introduced on your own, or did you have like family members or friends that showed you like the latest projects or like who's like popping like in the streets and all that?
Well, just hip hop in general, I have to say my father, but he was like a big East Coast hip hop fan. Like he like Gangstar, Guru, and like he like real East Coast MCs. I don't know how I just started listening. Maybe to be different from him, I just started listening to all West Coast, and that's how that picked up. Where it's like I like West Coast MCs, but I love that type of stuff too. But my vote is going to be with the West Coast MCs over them. And I think that's kind of where we differ musically. So I would say definitely my pops, but I put my own spin on it as I would.
Okay. Because like I mean I'm guessing this is like the mid 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. So like you'd had like people like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Exhibit, like some people from the Bay Area that were kind of making that wave to like Mac Dre and like E40. So I'm guessing that was like kind of like the artist like around that time, like you were like bumping into.
Really, but also like the game. The game came out with 04, 2004. That was like my first favorite rapper. And he was also from the West Coast. And he was the only West Coast rapper that was kind of new because Snoop and them was, Mac 10 and all of them, they all came out in the 90s. So the game was my first favorite. Like, who's my favorite rapper was definitely the game. But I was a big 50 Cent fan too. So when he did G Unit, now we had a West Coast version. That's obviously who I was rooting for. So yeah, the game definitely held it down. I want to say throughout that whole 2000s era for me.
Okay, okay, yeah. Nah, like I definitely like agree on there, like with the game being a focal icon, like in a sense too. So I definitely give
Mhm.
props on that. And in terms of like a career, job, and all that, was like something like in the media, like running your own media platform, something that you wanted to do growing up, or did you had other ideas or goals in mind?
No, it was always record label. I knew at a very young age I wanted to have a record label and be a record executive, record producer, that type of stuff. But in hindsight, I was always the school newspaper editor in elementary school, in middle school, and in high school. So I guess it was meant for me to do media and have a magazine because that's what I was mostly into. But for me personally, in my mind, it was always a label. And I guess that's why you can I can see now why, like, I do media, but it's also like artist development and producing and consultation and all of that intertwined into it because that was my upbringing. In school, I was learning journalism at every level, but then also I wanted to be a record producer. I wanted to have a label.
Okay, yeah, that's what's up. Because I was actually watching the first like No Jump interview that you had, and like you
Yeah,
actually talked about like managing artists like in high school and like in
yeah.
your late teens, early 20s, and like also being like a social media manager for some artists. So, what was like that backstory like, and the experience like beyond it?
So with that situation, I just really stumbled upon that whole me getting into the music business. Is a funny story. It really happened like by accident. I was walking home from school one day with a friend named Lamont, and Lamont was just like this bad neighborhood kid who always talked shit and cussed and whatnot. So that's who I used to choose to walk home with. So we was walking home one day. He was like, "Oh, come in here. They got a studio in here." this random building. And I'm like, I don't know who built that is. She's like, no, they got a studio here. So I went in there and they had a studio and it was rappers and it was my OG now. So it was Barry. He was running the place and he was working with all these different artists and he didn't have anyone to do the social media, the digital side of it. Some of the things he even know needed to be done. So when he was, asking me what I was into and I was telling him like, oh, I know how to design websites. I know how to set up, social media, XYZ. That was my entry point. That's how I got into the business, doing social media and website design for upcoming LA rappers, local LA rappers, but a lot of them. It was just a lot of different artists would come to the studio. When you get studio time, if you needed somebody to do your social media, they direct you to me if I was there after school.
Okay, no, that's pretty interesting too because I think around that time too, like Tumblr was like a popping
Yep.
thing, like Vine, Instagram too, and like I know it's showcased like more like on the West Coast too, like Tyga with like Dom Kennedy, Kendrick, TDE, Odd
Oh
Future,
yeah. Yep.
Peas and Carrots. So like I think that was like also like a very pivotal moment on how digital media like showcase like the West Coast like in a better light, like in the sense too with like who's upcoming and like everything else too, and like I think it was like even exemplified from I think the Modelo photo that they had with like Snoop Dogg, Snow the Product, Scheme, like a lot of people too. So
Yep.
media in LA at that time was like pretty interesting around there, you know?
Very much so. We were called new media. That's what they was calling us. Now it's not new anymore, but they called us new media. That was a new role on everybody's team, and you had to do everything. I mean, even their fan pages, setting up, Team YG or Team Ty Dolla Sign or Team Joe Moses, setting up the fan pages and running the fan pages. And I still see some of that stuff done now, but to the degree of how we had to do it back then so that these artists looked like they had a movement behind them just to get radio to play their song once a week, you had to do a lot to convince radio to give you that one spin at new at two, or you feel me, on West Coast Wednesday. So that's basically what it was. It was a way for us to get online and impress, not build fan bases as well, but impress DJs. Really, what we was doing online.
Yeah, that's facts. And I think even like clothing brands too that kind of like supported like LA artists too, like Peas and Carrots, Crooks and Castles, I think too, and then Huff, like a lot of like other brands too. So yeah, it is like amazing to see in a way. So
Yeah, so you're speaking to like the Fairfax culture. A lot of streetwear brands definitely gave LA rappers free merch, and if you really went up there, and there was times I would go up to Fairfax. My client would pick me up from high school, and then we would just go up to Fairfax and go from store to store, taking pictures, networking, meeting people. I would invite different bloggers up to meet the rappers in the store and have them do interviews there. So I was doing PR as well, just not knowing I was doing PR. But I would do anything creative to get the artist some buzz. It was all about generating buzz. Again, get enough buzz so that a DJ pays attention to you. You play your song on the radio, you get a record deal, and you can, go to the next level. That is what the business model for an LA rapper was in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011,
yeah,
2013.
that's facts, man. And getting on to your inspirations right now. So who would you consider like your main inspirations in terms of your journey and growth as like someone like within media and like even within like LA music and all that?
Um, Obviously Elliot Wilson, who I've had the honor of meeting a few times. Just because that's who I grew up reading his work, YN. I used to open up Double XL and read like the editor's address. And sometimes he'd be rapping in there, or sometimes he'd be telling like a really dope story, or telling you some, giving you some of the behind the scenes challenges of the cover shoot, anything. So off top, YN, Elliot, I fuck with B Dot. Uh, Dub Magazine was a huge inspiration. Ozone West, the people up at that publication. There was Ozone magazine, but then they made Ozone West for like West Coast rappers. That's was out when I was a kid. They discontinued that many years ago. Matty C from the Source, unsigned hype from the Source. Obviously, he's one of my favorite journalists. His pieces on Biggie and Eminem, he just changed a lot of people's lives simply by writing a column. They got deals and discovered and elevated off a column. So shout out to Matty C, and he also worked A&R at Loud Records. Chris Lighty, rest in peace. Violator management. It's so many. I can go on and on all day long. It's so many different. But Nipsey Hussle is one of my biggest, if not my biggest, influence business wise, because he was the one who taught me to pay attention to detail, be meticulous. organization, color codes, color schemes, all of that comes from Nipsey.
Yeah,
So yeah.
not it's amazing to see. Like because like I know Nipsey because I know like I'm like Abisha, like Ethiopian, and he's like Eritrean too. So like there is like that unique connection there, and like I think even like throughout his time, like within 2015 to later, like with him running the store, from him selling his mixtapes like $100, and I think Jay-Z bought like maybe 100 copies and all that. So it
Uh-huh.
was like amazing to see and like hear, and having someone like from that scene just showcase the idea of like business and how to profit like independently without like any sources or labels in that sense.
Absolutely. Nipsey was a visionary. Again, just a brilliant business mind. Everything from rollouts. Like I told you, the man was a mastermind, and I used to pay so much attention to him, as well as Casey Veggies, because I went to high school with Casey Veggies. So I was extremely impressed when Casey would have MTV News pull up to school, or when he was doing South by Southwest, and I was like, what the fuck is South by Southwest? And then every year after that, I made sure whoever I was working with, managing, representing, they had to be at South by Southwest. I learned that from Casey. My first time seeing a West Coast rapper have a brand collaboration with a brand was when he collaborated with Nike and they made the custom P's and Carrots Letterman jackets. That was limited edition. I had never seen that type of brand partnership or collaboration before. So I told myself, if I'm working with an artist, they're gonna have, even if it's a brand new clothing brand, I'm gonna get them a collaboration. They're gonna have customized merch, and that's because of Casey. So Nipsey Hussle, Casey Veggies, and different Dom Kennedy, different artists like that taught me branding as well at a high level.
Okay, yeah, that's what's up. Amazing to hear as well too. And like I think also in the No Jump interview, like you also talked about curating like and working at BET in terms of like the BET Awards. So how did you manage to work at BET like in that field, and how was that experience like, working with them, curating stages for the West Coast artists for their award shows and so forth?
Well, that was the main thing. I worked not with the BT Awards, but BT Experience, which happens at the same time as the awards that weekend. Right before the award show goes on, it's the events going on outside. BT Experience. They needed West Coast artists on the lineup. That's always my thing. When I don't see enough West Coast or LA artists, I speak up. I'm vocal. So they were having this BT Experience, and they were bringing all these different artists from out of town to perform before the award show kick off, and that's great. We want to see these artists too, but what about our artists? Our artists should be able to be on the stage. So it took me a long time, a lot of calls, a lot of pitches, a lot of emails. But finally, in 2014, they approved my idea to do. First, it was called A Day in LA, but then they said no, we should get some Bay artists too. So we just called it LA to the Bay, and we had RJ, Joe Moses, I Am Sue, Problem. So it was Bay artists as well as LA artists, or LA artists and Bay artists, on the stage. And then we ran it back in 2015 and had RJ. That's when Coca Cola became. It was like part of the Coca Cola experience. So I worked on two stages with BT Experience, 2014 and 2015,
Okay.
and made sure that there were West Coast rappers there.
Okay. Yeah, like 2014 like was like pretty interesting too, because I think that was like the moment like when West Coast like music like elevated like within the mainstream from that sense to
Yeah.
2014, 2015, and then I think it dived a little bit down like in 2016 with some artists, but I felt like, 2014 was that year that everyone wanted to sound like DJ Mustard, like when it came to like
Yeah.
the beats and like all that type of stuff too, or like having a feature with YG or Kidding or like Dom Kennedy, like in that sense. So
I agree. 2014 was definitely a prime year. That's a great observation. My Crazy Life came out that year. Mustard was at one of his peaks at the time. Production wise, everybody he was working with, Chris Brown, Kenny, like you mentioned, all the big artists had that Mustard sound. Yeah, that was a great year for West Coast rap. And I feel like we got, what else did we get in 24? We got a lot of music from TDE. We got a lot of music in 2014.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think Nick Nack, who also produced for the Chris Brown, also like made like those sounds too. I think he's from the West Coast too, and like I think like it even led to like other opportunities with people like RJ, I think getting noticed, and like Slim 400 and like Scheme, Dom Kennedy, and then I think Casey Veggies like rolled out like with some of his singles for his
Yep.
2015 project, which was like dope as well too. So
Yeah, he signed with Epic, I believe.
yeah,
And so yeah, there was a lot of great things going on. Again, that was the gold until 2016. I consider that the golden era for
yeah.
us. We have everybody from Nipsey, Kendrick, Dom. YG, Pushes E, Joe Moses, KC, Problem. People leave Problem out, but Problem, Tiger. I mean, we can keep going.
Yeah,
Ty Dolla $ign. Yeah. So
that's
golden
facts.
era.
Yeah.
Draco, rest in peace.
Yeah, nah, facts. I mean, I think even like Shoreline Mafia and like also the people too, but that was like 2017 and like onward too. But I think we'll
Yeah.
discuss that like later on too. But to speak more on like A Day in LA, because like I think that was like the a name that was initially used for the BT experience stage. So
Mhm.
was that like the main inspiration on wanting to start that brand, or was it from like a different idea? And tell me more about that progression from it becoming a blog to a magazine.
No, so with Adana Lay, they wanted to be LA to the Bay because they wanted to include Bay artists, and that always has been a challenge for Adana Lay because it feels like I'm like ostracizing LA and like keeping the IE or San Diego or Bay Area artists. In hindsight, that was like the just a challenge with the title, but no. So I started Adana Lay by Dejon Paul years later in 2018 as a blog. My first piece was and it's crazy because I just seen another platform do this recently, but 25 greatest LA rappers of all time. And I put out this list in 2018 and it went so viral. Just like people was cussing me out with the poor card, they was cussing me out back then too when I put out this list, just not at the same magnitude. And yeah, it just went viral, and everybody was telling me who should have been number one, who should have been number two. And it's like, this is my list. That could be your list, but this is how I see it. You feel me? Yes, I have Kendrick here. I have Ice Cube at number one. That's just how I feel. Some people have Kendrick over Ice Cube. I still keep Ice Cube over Kendrick. That's just my personal opinion. So from there, Daniel by Dejon Paul was born. That list, 25 greatest LA rappers.
Yeah. Because I think Seichi's like I think did that like later on for like other areas too, and like I think it like caught like some flack from there too. But yeah,
Mm.
like it is like interesting too to see like that top 25 list and having people bring like different discourses on who should be there, who should not be there, like etc.
Yeah, I mean, just as long as the conversation was about music, again, I felt like I was waking up and I was seeing people get on the timeline and talk about gang culture and what's going on in the gangs and in the streets and crime and violence every day. It was all over the timeline, even to the point where people from different hoods were arguing on the timeline. And it's like, okay, if you're gonna argue about something, let's argue about some music. You feel me? If we're gonna wake up and get on Twitter or Instagram and have these conversations, let's have some conversations about music. If you want to talk about street stuff, talk about street stuff. But at least let's have an alternative out here on the LA timeline where you can talk about music. And that's mainly what I was doing. I was providing daily prompts, and I still do it on a daily basis. Prompts where people can have full debates about music and not feel bad, and it shouldn't get personal, and it shouldn't end in violence or anything BS like that because we're just talking about music. If you like this album over that album, who cares?
Okay. Nah, that's pretty interesting in a way too, and you also talked about having a distribution deal at Priority. So tell
Yeah.
me more about that backstory and the experience beyond it.
Right. So that happened when I was managing an artist by the name of Key Richards, rest in peace. That was a deal that we went out and pursued for Key. Unfortunately, he passed and he never got to deliver a full body of work through Priority. Nothing was ever released for different reasons, but he did pass, and yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm looking at his obituary right here. I have it here hanging up. He was a great person, great artist, and I was proud. I was very proud that day. I remember that day. I remember when we went out to eat afterwards. I was proud to be able to do something for him because the deal was structured for him to be able to put out a debut album, studio album, instead of the mixtapes that we worked on together. Get Rich One, Get Rich Two, 1342 was the last project that I got to work on him with. But he wanted a debut album, and he had that option with them. But unfortunately, that never got to happen.
Yeah. Like rest in peace to Key Riches. Like my condolences. I think you were like the only person that talked about him like a lot, like showcased like his music too. Like it wasn't until that he passed away that everyone kind of started like talking about him and like other media platforms too. Like I don't want to like dig deep on that, but I felt like with your connection with him, like you had like a great connectivity and like you pushed him like a lot in who would be like the next like biggest like artist out of LA too. So I got to give you like props on that.
Greatly appreciated. That was my brother, and I saw his potential. He had the skill set. He had the heart. I knew that when he got on top, he was going to do the right thing because he had a good heart, and I knew that he was a boss. He was his own business owner, his own brand, get rich. He had the merch. He did philanthropy. He was involved in the community. He wasn't a perfect individual, but he definitely was a great person. And yeah, great loss. And whether people was talking about it now and then, as long as they go stream his music, support his family, listen to his music, keep his legacy alive, that's all I care about. I just know that I definitely tried to include him in everything I possibly could because he deserved it.
No, that's facts. And I got it. Like, I definitely like agree as well too, and give you like props on that as well too. And to kind of head further, like, within this topic, within media and music, your affiliation with No Jumper, which I know you get like a lot of like questions, like a lot about it too. But I just only have like few questions like regarding it too. So, how did that opportunity come about? Like when you became like a part of their media team, was it something that you hesitated at first due to like the reputation going on with house phone being exposed and like everyone like leaving like No Jumper like
Right.
at that point too?
At that point, yes, it was literally again, I can't even pinpoint why, but everybody in my life told me no, from friends to family. And again, my gut was telling me no. I went against it, and I feel like that's why things went how they went. Every sign was there that no, this isn't a good work environment for you to be at. But again, it was the only offer that I did get. You get what I'm saying? No one else took time to send me an email or send me a formal invitation to their platform. Even an informal invitation to their platform, like here's the time and the address, pull up, like an informal. I didn't get those. So when I wake up one day and Adam is on the timeline, there's a video of him saying, you know what, Dejon was right about the LA Rapper report card. And then I'm getting invited up there for an interview. And then after the interview, I'm getting formal emails with formal invitations to XYZ. I accepted it. But again, in hindsight, I shouldn't have. And, that's pretty much all there is to that.
Okay, nah, that's I definitely like agree as well too. And I mean that experience at No Jumper because like I know there's like a lot of like factors involved with their stuff and pornography and like other factors as well too, like interviewing like drill artists and all that sham, like even with the news too. So how was it, working an out jumper, like being with like Flacco, Sharp, like Almighty Suspect, Zen, Princess, Adam, and were there like any like good and bad moments like when you worked there, like throughout that time?
I cannot sit up here and lie. There were definitely great moments, good times, fun episodes. It really wouldn't be why it's really like after the camera stops rolling, it's like you walk back into the main room, then you can come into drama. But there were definitely some great moments. You guys saw me laughing up there and having a good time at certain
Yeah.
points. Just like with any former employee up there, everybody had great episodes. I'm not gonna sit up here in front like every day was miserable. But no, I had a gut feeling that I wasn't supposed to be there still. But that doesn't mean I couldn't go up there one day and just have a great episode and kill it. And like, yeah, that episode was fire. We cooked. We had some great topics. We had some days like that as well, for sure.
Yeah, because like I've been seeing like the news and I've been seeing like like the solo interviews you've had with other artists like Big Sad 900 1900 and like even like with some like the LA OGs and all that too. And like I think like you were like doing your thing, like you, Remo, Suspect kind of had like a great like improvement from there too. And like I think like that dynamic change on like how content was like even portrayed too. Like Brick had some interesting moments too, DW Flame, and I feel like I can understand like how with gang culture and with other stuff going on that it could shake like things in the room too and like different energies and different times. So it's like you have to be like on your toes like on whatever happens and all that too. And
24/7. Yeah.
yeah, but like even like in a sense too because like I think everyone knows like the reason why like you left No Jumper. You also like explained it too. So I don't want to go
Mm.
like too deep on that too. But do you ever regret like your decision on working at No Jumper and even having like a relationship with like Adam like working wise in that sense?
Yeah, it's definitely a total regret. It's my biggest regret in life. It definitely in my career. Was when I got the email saying, we would like to invite you to the platform. I shouldn't have opened it. Well, one, I wish I never got it, but I definitely shouldn't have opened it. I definitely shouldn't have replied. I definitely shouldn't have got in my car and drove up there. You get what I'm saying? No one forced me to. That was my choice. So again, that's why I regret it, and I have to accept that. I put myself in the situation by going up there knowing that it was not a good place for me. My gut was telling me this is not a good place for you, Dejon. But yet I was still going just so that I could bring some hip hop conversation back to the platform, just so I could get more LA rappers exposure, just so I could show more people why it's important to focus on artist development. Again, that's the whole point of the report card is to bring back artist development. So I'm pushing that type of rhetoric. So I'm doing it for a good reason, but it's still wrong because I got that gut feeling. You know, you just got to listen to your gut and follow your instinct. And I learned that I got to trust myself. And when I don't feel right in the situation, I need to either leave or not be there. Because if I hadn't have been there when the gun went off and there was a shooting incident, I wouldn't have been there around it at all if I had never took the job and went up there. So
Oh, yeah, no,
that's just
that's
how I
facts.
look.
Yeah. Just to kind like I just had like an extra question about it, but just to kind of like add like the nail to like the wooden board for a bit too. Like,
Yeah.
are there like any misconceptions on how people like the staff like act at like No Jumper like in that sense too, and like just like their personalities like on and off camera? Like I know like in some situations too, people have like different personalities, different vibrations, different ways that they act like on and off camera too. So was that something that you've noticed and like you've started to like kind of check people for their accountability on that in that sense?
If you remember, I used to say stuff like that on the show. I would be like these guys don't like each other. I used to say stuff like that, and I don't know something about me. Maybe it's the baby face, or maybe because I'm fat and I got good energy or something. Excuse me. People like to come to me and talk to me about other people. And so it's like the things that they would all come there, like they would be in a room with each other, be good. And then they would come to me and just talk about one another like a dog, and like just tell me all type of crazy shit about one another. And then when we get all back in the room, everything's all good, giddy, giddy, giddy. And so it was that type of stuff. But I mean, that's just like workplace. I'm sure that's common. I'm sure there's people up at hospitals and airports and stuff that deal with that. That's just any workplace. You have two-faced people. It is what it is. I never indulged in it. Can't nobody up there ever say I spoke on anybody because I'm a very that's not even my type of energy. I'm gonna talk about me. You get what I'm saying? I don't sit around talk about people, especially just sitting around talking about other men. No, that was nothing with me, but mostly other artists being not artists, excuse me, other personalities being like Two Face. Other than that, it was a lot of performativeness, but I mean, you can expect it on the podcast, right?
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
I
I
don't know. I
think
just wasn't taking it personal. When I was up there, I was focusing on hip hop. I wanted to talk about who dropped the new album, who got the new song out, who got the best mixtape, who's barring, who's slow, who's stealing, who's slow, who's ghostwriting. That was the type of stuff I wanted to talk about when I got up there. I wasn't talking about, oh, is this person chain real or who got money, who don't got money, XYZ, da 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 da. Or who from what hood, who told on who did this, who did that. I didn't care about that type of stuff. You would see me literally on camera. Okay, can we go to the next topic? Like, what's the next topic? So
yeah, that's facts, man. To speak more on the report card because I know that's like your platform that you're focusing on right now. Like you've been dropping like episodes like daily. I've been
yeah,
seeing like the first few episodes, which is like very amazing to see like on how it's like way different from like a day in LA. So, what
yeah.
made you decide on like prioritizing it like more? And was it something that you wanted to branch out of from outside of a day in LA, or like are you also focusing on that as well too?
Well, like we spoke, like I said a few minutes ago, Dana Lake puts me in such a box. I feel because it's like you have to only talk about LA versus rap report card. It's like I can grade music from any region. Artists can send their music in from any region and get graded and get my feedback. I don't just know LA rap. I know hip hop. I didn't grow up just listening to LA rap. I grew up listening to hip hop. I just love LA rap the most. You get what I'm saying? So that's like my biggest passion, but that is not my only passion. So me focusing more on the Rap Report Card podcast mainly has been because I want to grade and critique artists from different regions, but also you notice like a Dan Lake Coles was always like my homegirls. So with Rap Report Card, we kind of tighten up a little bit and making it more like industry focused. And then when I bring a Dan Lake back, it's going to be me and my homegirls lounging around, more personal, more chill, but still talking about LA rap, but just on a personal, chill level. Like, how you feel about this and XYZ? Versus Rap Report Card, it's a little bit more tight. You see me in my dress shirt and tie, you feel me? Really grading artists sitting there giving feedback.
Yeah. Ah, that's interesting to even like hear and like notice about that too. And like to speak more, like even like with like media and like blog pages and all that type of stuff too, because there have been like a lot that are like prevalent, like Seichis, academics, like much more. Like, how do you value like the importance of like blog pages, like even like within regional ones too? And do you feel that the content that they post can help artists in certain ways, or at least change the aspect of how urban media can be seen?
For the most part, I would say it's content. It's something to show your fans. It's really just about the look for most blog pages, because it's really just like a screenshot or a repost. So this blog posts your new song. It's something to repost, for the day. Your fans saying, "Oh, he's getting traction. He's getting blog placements. He's on these different platforms." It bigs you up to your fans, and you might gain new fans from that. Do I really like the format that I see a lot of times? Like, is so and so the new hottest artist out of Los Angeles? Is so and so the new hottest artist out of Orange County? Is so and so the hottest rapper out of New York? Like, and with a big question mark. And I'd be like, nigga, you tell me. You the blog platform. You tell me who's the hottest out the city, and tell me why. You feel me? Give me some factors and some factors and some variables to it. But for the most part, it's just like they just like little ads, and it's okay, but I'm not gonna say it's like foundational. It's useful though. It's definitely, if I manage an artist, I would want blogs posted to their music, and I wouldn't turn down those type of posts. But it's like, is it gonna? Is that what you're gonna bake your rollout on? No.
Yeah, I know what you mean because in some situations too, like even like these like rappers, artists, like they'll have like a foundational like relationship with like some of these like media pages too. Some people with like acts, some people with say cheese. Like in my city, like a lot of rappers like like Six Buzz and Keep Six Solid too. So I notice like how they hone in that relationship easily too, which is like more with blog pages, as opposed to like other cities where it's like foundational like media, like with like magazines and like podcasts and that type of stuff too.
Right. No. So the idea of a blog is still important if you're going to blog, which means you have to share your opinion. You get what I'm saying? You like blogging is not just promoting. If you're gonna blog, you have to share your opinion. How do you feel about the subject? So if you're a rap blog, how do you feel about these rappers? But if you just telling me that the rapper has a new album coming out and that's all your page posts is this rapper has a song coming out, this rapper has this out, this rapper has that out, then to me that's like just really more so promo. You feel me? But a blog is like, okay, this album just dropped, this video just dropped, let's talk about how we feel about it. You know what I'm saying? Getting into
Yeah,
that. So
yeah,
the blogs are still important if they're real blogs,
yeah.
not just like promo blogs.
Sure. Yeah, like Passion of Luis and like also Rap Radar, like as you said too, and
Yep.
like even like other ones too. I think Hip Hop DX and like the Needle Drop some at times too, like which is like more of a video blog of reviewing like certain projects too. I think he does this thing sometimes with certain projects, not like the entirety of like black like music in that sense too, but in the same sense as a regular like blog, like in that sense too. So that importance is like necessary too to focus on the music, to focus like on the highlights as well too. So
That part.
yeah, man. Just to get back more onto your experience too, were there ever like any situations where you've had like a bad experience with a client or a rapper, or if you provided services that and like the overall results like didn't meet up with what they expected or what they needed from you, like in that sense?
No, I'm pretty professional and competent and on point. I don't necessarily have issues like that. Or else you would hear stories like that where, excuse me, rappers were like, how do I do this? Where rappers were like, excuse me, oh, I paid Dejon for this XYZ and I didn't get it. You don't hear that. No, for the most part, I'm on point. I don't take on too much. It's
Yeah.
not needed. I could anything that you need me to do, whether it's if you need me to do a rollout or some PR services or something like that. If I can't do it, I'll just tell you I can't do it. But if we agree to do it, I'm there. That's one thing about me in general. My word is my word. I show up on time. If I say I'm going to be somewhere, I'm there. That's why it was such a favorite by production at No Jumper, as well as at the new platform I'm at, Figmunity. Because if they ask me to show up, I'm there. I'm there on time. I'm there early. I'm a professional.
That's facts, man. Nah, like I've seen like the Figmunity episodes, and you were like doing your thing out there with like Podlord and like the other people as well too. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
definitely like check out the rest too. But like from the stuff I've seen, like you've been doing your thing, man. And
Thank you.
yeah, man. And I think this like answers for itself too, but like even like on working on your first creative project to like helping like a lot of like artists like in the LA rap scene with Rap Report Card, A Day in LA, and much more. Do you feel like you've grown as like a reputable person in LA media and that you've came like a long way from that start until now?
Yes. Do I give myself that credit and really like buy into all of that stuff? No, that's just not the type of person I am. I'm always gonna be hard on myself. Like you could be doing better, Dejon. This ain't shit. You can do 1,000 times better. That's just how I am. That's how I talk to myself. But I get told I'm a legend every day. That's what every time I open my phone, someone's calling me legendary or speaking of how important I am in the city. All my family and friends tell me like you don't know like how important you are, you don't know how big you are. And I have people like Roddy Rich's manager or YG's manager or different executives, label executives at Warner, different things calling me, telling me like, hey, you're changing the game. Like, you know, you're a legend, right? Like you're doing things so differently. Like you brought artist development back out here. You got these rappers stepping up. You're the first person who wasn't scared of these so-called gangster rappers to tell them, even to their face, and sit down on camera and tell them, and through the report card on social media, hey, you guys need to step it up in certain areas. And so I understand it, but maybe I'll like accept it 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or XYZ. Right now, I just got my head down. I'm grinding and I'm trying to keep it going and evolve and get to the next level. I'll give myself flowers later on. Right now, I'm just focused on building. But I do see them. I definitely see them.
That's facts, man. And like I'd taken like a lot of like stuff like every day too with like interviews and like other content as well too. And like even in your past interview, you said that the LA like radio scene is like run by like stipulations, like pay to play, that DJs are taking payment to play like certain artists or to play stuff from like the labels and all that too. So tell me more about that. And is that something that you've experienced like working like within the media in that sense?
Well, with that, I was saying that do the rappers have to do that to get on the radio? Do LA rappers have to pay to get on the radio? Because why are the Atlanta and New York and different region rappers, down south rappers, being played on the radio station so frequently, but you can't hardly get an LA rapper on there? Now, with that being said, I have been speaking up on the changes that LA radio needs to make, whether it's hiring more black people or hiring more black DJs or playing more LA music since what, 2019? And I feel like it hindered my career. It cost me millions and millions of dollars, huge opportunities. Do I feel like I don't want to say got a thank you, but just, or even acknowledgement, but it's just like the respect for that. I feel like I never got because the same media people and black DJs that I was speaking up to get hired at these stations disrespect me on the timeline. The same artists who I was fighting to get their music played on these stations disrespect me on the timeline. So in hindsight, I learned like sometimes you just gotta mind your business. I have no pony in the race. You feel me? I'm not a DJ. I'm not a rapper. So I need to focus on Dejon, and that's the chapter I'm in right now. That's not to say those issues aren't important, but I've addressed them. I've done my part. The information is out there. Now I'm focused on Dejon Paul and building the rap report card brand.
All right, that's facts. Good enough like in that sense too. Like I think with some of these like questions right now, they're more like generic based, but within the topic that we're discussing within like LA media and like
Yeah,
rap and all that too. So, like the Kendrick and Drake beef, like which is like a very pivotal moment in music, not just in my city but in your city as well too. So, what
right.
are your thoughts on it and how it all like panned out?
Musically, Kendrick cooked them. Kendrick cooked them. Like I knew he would. I knew Drake couldn't go in a lyrical battle against Kendrick or a real hip hop battle. I just knew he didn't have that type of tenacity. That doesn't mean I don't like views or nothing was the same or that I don't listen to Drake's good music. I definitely still do. It's not that serious. But Kendrick won the beef. I was rooting for Kendrick. I knew from jump Kendrick was definitely going to win the beef. With that being said, I thought that he was going to take that victory and bring the West Coast back with it because when the beef popped off, it was a lot of people speaking down, not just on Kendrick, but just West Coast in general. And I noticed that from media people, DJs, fans, tastemakers alike. So I thought that we was going to get not just Kendrick winning the rap beef, but a West Coast comeback. And we're still waiting on the ladder.
Yeah, man. Like I definitely like agree to like in that sense. I feel like, Drake like afterwards like some people will say like Family Matters and like the other songs he had like more of a factual based like opinion on Kendrick, which might have like evidence that might be true. But I think Kendrick came with like better hits and better songs like within like other platforms for like TikTok, like not like with They Not Like Us, with I think Meet the Grams, and like even with like that too, like it led to like other opportunities for West Coast artists to be a part of it, like Wally the Sensei recently just being on tour with like Future and like Metro Boomin and
Yeah.
like the big like forum stage where like everyone performed like the pop out and like I
Uh,
think like other artists like even getting that recognition too. So it is like amazing to see too. And like I think in that situation in Drake's and like for my city, like the only thing he promoted was a couple EDM tracks and the Wagwan like Delilah song, which kind of like looked people looked at like Drake the wrong way too because he could have brought like someone that would have elevated the Toronto scene more too. But
okay.
I do look at like various like factors within the Drake and Kendrick beef. Like was there like facts, opinions? Was it who had the better head? All that type of stuff too. So
Yeah, to me, like the fact based stuff, it rarely matters to me because even like on a normal rapper, do I care if he really was out there doing whatever he's rapping about? To be honest, no, I don't. And that's just me personally. Some people do care. Me, I don't care if you really is the toughest, baddest guy in the streets. If you rap about it, make it sound good, and I'd like to play it and hear it, that's cool. Like I don't need it to be true. I don't necessarily want you to have been out there doing those things. When Biggie was rapping about um using bombs to blow up doors and stuff like that. Do I think Biggie was really out there, you feel me, with C4 and shit like that? No, it's just you being dramatic. It's theatrical. It's hip hop. You just rapping. You feel me? You talking shit or XYZ. So um even going back to like the Tupac Biggie beef, like we weren't there with Pac and Faith that night. So how do we know for a fact that she slept with him? But in the diss, he says he fucked his wife. So you feel me? It sounds good. So who had the better disc record? It's not about was it true or not. Whose disc record was better? That's just how I look at it, and I can apply that same thing to the Kendrick and Drake disc. Whether what Kendrick was saying was true or not, did he rap it well? How well did he rap it? That's what we need to focus on, not what's going on in these people's personal lives.
yeah, no, that's facts too. And I mean, the better man like won like in that sense too. But either way, I feel like they've both elevated their careers in that sense too. And I don't think anything can change from it. Like most likely, some people might have like some off times too. So Drake might have that off time, and Kendrick will probably experience more highs. Like I know he's gonna drop like a snippet soon, well, a song soon of the
Hopefully, so.
snippet that he was like playing. So it'll be dope, you know?
Hopefully, so. I would love to get some new music from Kendrick soon.
Yeah, man. And with LA, like I know there's like different like regions, like the Inland Empire, which is San Fernando Valley, like pretty much like the valley, like in that sense too.
Yeah.
And like knowing that you cover like LA and IE in that sense too. So what were like the certain differences between like the rap scene in LA versus like IE? And what sound or style do you prefer more in that sense?
Obviously the LA rap sound I prefer better. The IE sound is often a bit more um like they're like a little more dated. You know, that sounds crazy coming from an LA rap critic, but because LA rap is considered dated. But even by our metric, they're a little bit dated. Like they lag. Their sound would be like what our sound was 2, 3 years ago. You feel me? It's never the progressive, in my opinion. The IE sound is never like the trend setting. It's kind of like they lag behind us by a couple years. But they still have some noteworthy artists like R3, the Chili Man, or Raheem Beasley, different artists like that that you could tap in with King Most Wanted.
Yeah, man. I mean, Price, I think from like Audio Push is like from there
Yeah,
too, and like he's like doing this like thing musically, toured with like Code of the Friend. I think there was like a female rapper by like the name of like Raven Felice who actually used to be signed to Taylor Gang that was like from the Valley that was like doing her thing too. Dushka, like I might be wrong. I don't know if Tarzana is like a part of LA or part of IE too, or like
Tarzana will be LA, so Doja Cat is LA because that's Los Angeles County. IE is like San Bernardino County, Mojave Desert.
okay. Yeah, that's facts, man. And like I know like this might be like a much more like not heated, but like like emotional like an emotional type topic and like even just like the harsh like truth. But do you feel
What?
like LA gang culture and violence will be like the downfall like in LA and IE artists like getting opportunities outside of the West Coast, like in that sense?
It's definitely like the number one opponent of progression for our music, definitely. Because a lot of the things that go on the LA rap scene are often like okayed or controlled by gang members, and some of the gang members aren't educated or don't have the music industry background, knowledge, skill, or even just wherewithal to make the right decision. So it's kind of like we let, oh, you from this hood, okay, well you have control over what this label roster does. And it's like you don't know about project management, you don't know about A&R and the sequence of the project. You don't know about setting up press, marketing, branding, none of that. You feel me? You know. So I feel like the gang element, or even from a collaboration standpoint, there are so many artists that we want to do songs together that can't. That we want to do music videos together that can't. Even on a show level, there's artists that can't do shows, that can't perform. There are artists with buzz singles out here that never had a show because they feel if they have a show, someone's going to come shoot it up, or it's going to be violence. So it affects the economy. We can't really have a LA rap economy because of the gang element. But do I see it going anywhere? To be honest, no. So, it is what it is. People put out music, I grade it.
Yeah. No, like I definitely like agree like in that sense too, because like with a lot of like LA rappers, like maybe aside from like Shoreline Mafia and like Blueface, like a lot of them stick within like the West Coast area and like maybe do like a few shows like in New York City and like the Midwest, and I doubt like Canada like in that sense too. So it is like hard like even like interconnecting as well too. And like I think even with the recent situations with like the PNB Rocks, the Pop Smokes, and even like certain interviews, certain content too. Like even like a lot of like out of town artists like kind of look at like LA differently and branch out to like other cities like Memphis or Jacksonville or like that
Yeah.
whole like Broward County and like DC. So they'll have like different opinions and like even like different mindsets too. But I feel like it's kind of like a 50-50 situation. In some cases, there are artists that do kind of rock with LA and like even take that time to like work with them. And then there's others that, which is like the mainstream, that kind of like look at differently and find like what's like trending in that sense.
Yeah, it definitely scares the money away. There are artists that don't want to deal with that, executives that don't want to deal with that, power players that don't want to have to deal with that. So not only do they avoid it or only come out here when it's an award show or something like that, but also they'll show bias against it. When they get back to their office in New York or their office in Atlanta, they're going to do whatever's in their power to make sure that LA artists are getting opportunities up to that level so that they don't have to deal with what the LA rappers are bringing through the door with them, which is a lot of gang culture, which is a lot of gang members. So I understand it, but like I said, I don't see it go. I don't see it changing. I don't see it going anywhere. So
Yeah.
LA rappers gonna keep dropping music. I'm gonna keep grading it, and we're just gonna keep it at that.
Likewise. No, I agree. The complex media list, which dropped, earlier, like I think this month or last month, had like a lot of like notable people on it, academics like
Yeah.
being number one. Like, how do you feel about it? And was it something that you felt was like accurate and like the other media platforms that brought that impact this year, or would you be like different to it in that sense?
I think some of the names they got right, some of the names might have been on there that I wouldn't have on a list like that, but it's not my list. If that's what they feel deserve those rankings, cool. But some of the names, like obviously you have to put Ack on there, you have to put Joe Budden on there. Elliot Wilson still deserves to be on there. Um, B Dot was B Dot on there. Brian Miller.
I don't think so. Like I know Trap Lord Ross was there. I think Bootleg Kev was there,
Okay,
which
that's
congrats
cool.
to him. Yeah, like West Coast media
Oh,
like
West
representing.
Coast. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Big Boy was there. I think
Okay.
Nadeska. I think
Yeah,
there's
that's
this
good.
guy named Arshawn of like Kids Takeover. Like he was I think number 25 or number 24, but he was
Ebro was
there.
on there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they have the names for the most part, but I feel like in general we're just ready for the new regime because a lot of the people on that list are like in their 40s. We are ready for that new regime of media, but that new regime has to really take the craft of being a hip hop journalist serious because there are a lot of people calling themselves hip hop journalists that couldn't even tell you the founders of Def Jam. I mean, literally Def Jam. Like, that's the easiest one. Like, let's not even get into like if I say Loud Records or something like that. They couldn't even tell you who founded the founding members of Def Jam. So They're meeting people who don't know anything about hip hop, what year was formed, any of the founding fathers don't know anything about it. They're hip hop media people who don't even know the visions of a record label, but they swear they're hip hop media people. So,
Yeah.
I feel like, there needs to be gatekeepers in the media space because anybody can just call themselves a media
Yeah.
person and
Yeah.
not even have a talent.
I definitely like agree in a sense too. Like I know like in some cases they'll have like more like relaxed like platforms. Like I think Yachty's was also like on that list too. I think to make it safe to and like what brings like the numbers to like with Yachty with
Yeah,
Gay P of like on the radar and like even with like Trapler Russ which does like documentaries of people within other aspects of media, but now within the aspect of like hip hop media too. So I feel like that there could be like a swap around like that in that sense to bring people that might have done like other like better things like within like hip hop media like in that sense too. So
absolutely. But again, we just have to be patient. The same way we have to be patient and wait for there to be some better rappers, because right now, generation's not it. I feel like we just have to be patient and wait for a new wave, a new regime of hip hop journalists that are integral and have integrity and really want to discuss music, journal about music, not about crimes and street drama and gangs, but who want to sit around and talk about music with their platforms. To me, that is a hip hop platform. That's hip hop media, not just talking about crimes.
yeah,
Because if two rappers crews have a shootout or any type of situation like that, are the Channel 5 news journalists who cover it, are they hip hop journalists? No, they're just journalists covering crime, covering an incident like that. That doesn't make them hip hop journalists because they're journaling or writing about or covering or speaking on crimes and street stuff and gang activity. That does not make you a hip hop journalist.
yeah. No, that's facts, man. I'm just gonna like skip over some questions too because I think they're already explained too. But being a hardworking and consistent like creative, like how do you manage to provide like longevity to your work too? And is that something that you intend to focus on like more in the future?
As far as you talking about my work as far as my magazine, my platform, my publication, or you talking about like my podcasting as well, everything?
Uh, Pretty much like everything to the nine, yeah.
Right. Just putting my heart into it and my perfect no, I'm not gonna make mistakes, yes. But if I put my heart into it, give it my all, if I'm aggressive with my work, if I'm assertive with my work and I'm putting my best foot forward, then I'm content with it. I know I need to do better in certain areas, but I know that my heart's in the right place and I'm focused and I'm giving it my all every day. I'm not slacking in that regard. Are there things I need to do better? Yes, always.
That's facts, man. And for people that want to be like in your footsteps too, like let's say someone wants to like run their own like media platform, or someone wants to do something within media that can change the aspect of like how people like look at hip hop or rap or other cultures. Like, what would be that advice that you'd give?
Get to it. It's nothing to it but to do it. Work hard every day. Wake up, do something. Find something you can do to better the brand platform or media space that you're developing. You feel me? You have to be aggressive with it. The same way a rapper, we tell them get in the studio. You feel me? Do music videos, do content, rehearse for performances, build your team. It's the same stuff for us. The same thing I'm telling rappers. Trust me, I'm telling myself. Maybe just like, okay, I want them to step their lyrics up. I'm telling myself every day, I want you to step your writing up. You get what I'm saying? It's the same thing. So, and that's the advice I'll pass down to whoever's coming after me. Be aggressive with it. Be assertive. If this what you want to do, then I want to see you taking steps to do it every day.
Okay, no, that's facts, man. And you don't have like any regrets in your life, right? Or do you have like any?
Outside of going to jumper that, which is my biggest regret. Um, I have days where I regret not becoming an entertainment attorney because that's something that at one point I wanted to do, and it's something I can still do in the future. I can see myself doing that in my like late 30s or 40s, being an entertainment attorney. But outside of that, no.
Okay. And like usually like I plug in like like a playlist for like my platform like in that sense too of like people that they want to like check out and all that. So
Okay.
like let's say someone from outside of LA like wants to tap into like the latest like stuff going on like within like LA hip hop music. Like what would be like free songs that you would recommend for people that want to get to know like the current like scene in like LA more?
That is a great question. I'm gonna say 310 Baby, Rock Your Hips, with OGZ and Blue Bus Clan to cover like the Ratchet Wave. Then I would say we can do Jason Cash. Do I want to say the Dom record or do I want to say All Right It's Lit? Check out Jason Cash's no, Hit My Phone. Jason Cash Hit My Phone. That's a song of his new project. One of the songs of his new project, All Right Bet, will probably Hit My Phone. By Jason Cash. That'll cover like people who want to hear some lyrics but still want to hear that West Coast groove, little touch of old school. And then third, if I had to give a third option, I would say go get a KB options, his song options.
Okay. Yeah, I know like Free 10 Baby dropped, I think the same one with like Sweetie, which is like the remix. Do
Yeah,
you
the remix of
prefer
that.
like do you prefer the original or like the remix right now?
I prefer the original because obviously I'm not like the biggest Sweetie fan, but it is a great look. It's a great look that he got Sweetie on the remix and they did that dope video on the golf course and everything. That's fire. I know that's gonna elevate his game. But me personally, I don't I could do without the Sweetie verse on the record. Not saying that she didn't do her thing, but for what I'm gonna listen to in my car, the original.
Okay. And aside from like anything else, like I know like you have the Figmunity thing, you're focusing on report card a day in LA. Do you have any other like projects or any other plans in mind for the rest of the year? And do you have any
Um,
like close?
I had a crazy tumultuous year. Not to say that I haven't had great moments in it because I have. I've had a crazy year, so I'm not doing anything new. I'm gonna just tighten up with my program. The only thing that I'm doing new is I am a member at Fig Muni now. You can catch me on the Fair to Say podcast twice a week. Shout out to Stat. That's new. I do have the Rap Report Card podcast. I believe we're on episode 10 finally. I interview AC Track tomorrow. So Rap Report Card podcast. I'm on Community twice a week. And our fifth annual LA freshman cover from a day in LA is coming out this fall. That's what I'm excited about because it's year five. We're gonna get 10 brand new LA rappers, put them on a cover together. It's gonna be great. So that's what I'm focused on for the rest of the year. Also, shout out to Cash Kid for putting me in his new music video, Report Cards, and shouting me out on that. So thank you to Cash Kid. But that's what I've been working on lately.
All right. Likewise, like definitely like a great way to close off, you know, and Dejon Paul, like thank you for coming by to the podcast for like the very first time, like even having like this like legendary like conversation. Like, you know, you were like one of the ones like I was like looking at this year in terms of like who's changing the aspect of like media and like changing the aspect of culture. And, you know, I wish like nothing but the best for you, like in your platform within Fig Community and like much more too. And like we'll definitely have more of these like talks soon or like definitely connect to like pull up to LA or like maybe bring you to Toronto, like if possible, you know. So
It's lit. Thank you so much. You were a great interviewer. I loved your questions. You had some great questions, and just thank you for having me on your platform. I really appreciate it.
likewise, man. And you know, this is Josh, also known as Yashu. Another episode of TLOY Talks with the legendary Dejon Paul. You can get this on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Buzzsprout, Patreon, much more. Like I've said that like in the beginning. I'm definitely gonna say it now. Tap in with like Dejon's platform, the Rap Report Card podcast, and like the platform, and also with Dan LA too, and like his stuff on Figmunity. You'll definitely get some great conversations on LA music, LA media, hip hop, much more, you know, and you know, I'm just gonna sign off right here, you know, so
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.